Well, America, it's just me and you this week. Kevin's busy doing something. I wonder what it could be.
Annual fishing for clown colleges, 'cause clowns gotta eat too.
Hello, America. It's time to check the nonsense at the door, clear the cobwebs between your ears, and have a rational-ish conversation. This is the lost art of common sense. That's right, America. I'm Josh, and this is the lost art of common sense. Running solo this week, since Kevin's obviously furthering his charitable works with fishing for clown colleges. Like I said in the last episode, very passionate. So anytime he's not on the show, that's exactly what he's doing. Fishing for clown colleges. Because they got to eat too. And this week, I wanted to talk about Generation X, because we've been seeing a lot of memes, videos, stuff like that about the things we went through. Gen X being 1965 through 1980. There is like a mini generation there. I think it's like a 5-year generation as part of Gen X and millennials, where basically you're born, you grew up, there were no such thing as computers, at least as we knew them or had access to them. And then halfway through your childhood, there was. And that would be mine, because I'm right at the tail end of Gen X. But all the memes, videos, stuff like that, they all kind of hold true as far as like when we were kids or when I was a kid, and all my friends and any Gen Xers out here listening, spent a lot of time outside, spent a lot of time with friends. If you want to know where your friends were, you just look for the pile of bikes in somebody's yard. I would say, I guess, because of how we were raised, that made us pretty independent people. I mean, I would say in general, Gen X's are pretty independent, hardworking, resourceful. Confident is, not, and nobody in an entire generation is confident, but, kind of had that somewhat rebellious attitude. And according to the stats, Gen X is the least racist generation so far. And the generations after it aren't any less racist. I think we can explain. Well, I think we've noticed that through reverse racism. Like there is no such thing as reverse racism. If you're a racist, you're racist. If you hate white people, even if you're white and because of whatever shit that you've been told, then you're a racist. Same with anything else, like all the anti-Semitism lately. That makes you a racist. So you should stop. But I think the reason why Gen X carries that badge of honor is because, at least for myself and a lot of people I know, we don't care enough to be racist. Not as far as we're checked out, but the fact that, like, I could give a shit less what somebody's race is or background, whatever. If you're a good person or responsible, whatever, then you are. I mean, that's like when a lot of people say respect's, mutual respect, and that's a true thing. I mean, there's a certain line of respect you give somebody when you first meet them, but from that point on, they prove to you who they are, whether their sex, race, creed, sexuality, none of that crap matters. I mean, your personality, and like who you are and your character make you who you are. All those other things are just things. But to kind of put in perspective, as far as like, how I only know how I was Gen X, but I do see Kevin's not here to tell me the words, but I have when I see the videos, the memes, stuff like that, it does remind me a lot of like growing up. Like I spent a lot of time outdoors, like literally we were outdoors all the time. I mean, obviously when Nintendo came out, I mean, we had it wasn't Atari, I don't know what the hell it was, but it looked like a giant remote with a joystick, and there was a Pac-Man rip-off game on it. I think it was called Cat and Mouse, but videos came out. We played them for a while, but even after that, like always outside. Like, yeah, we played video games a lot for a while. Kevin's ass would check out when the PlayStation came out and a new Final Fantasy game came out. He'd be like, "Well, where's Kevin? Oh, he's playing Final Fantasy. We won't see him for the next 2 weeks." But I mean, we just did a lot of stuff, or I did. And yeah, you would. I remember one time we used to always there was this. I don't know if it was limestone or not, but it was the crap they put on baseball fields. There's a giant mound of this behind the high school. And leading up to this giant mound is this long ass sidewalk that you can get some pretty decent speed built up on your bike. So we'd ride down our bikes as fast as we could, jump the giant mound of dirt. And one time, I don't know what the hell I did, but my bike basically came out from under me and I crashed horribly. So I was all skinned up, knees all, skins all busted up, bleeding. Ran to the house, covered myself in bandages using the zero knowledge I had in first aid. Got back on my bike and went out and kept doing stuff again. I was lucky enough as a child not to break a bone that I know of, but I did jack myself up quite a bit. But we were just more adventurous, and I think the boomers that raised us weren't as helicoptery. It was more, I don't know, you do you, be home at this time, or you're gonna get your ass whipped. But I mean, my favorite thing to do when I was a kid is just go exploring. Like I grew up where there was a lot of woods and stuff, so we'd go exploring woods and go out and do stuff. And I mean, as long as I was home when I was supposed to be, everything was cool. And I think kids had a lot more respect, not only for their own parents. Like we had, granted, Gen X was kind of rebellious, but I do feel like there was more respect for our parents and our friends' parents back then than we have today. Because I remember my one buddy, we spent a lot of time over at his house. And I don't know what I did or what I said. I just remember my buddy's mom smacked me upside the head. And I was like, what the heck? You can't do that. You're not my mom. And she's like, you're over here enough. And she had a point. So, but there was more mutual respect for that stuff. Um, I think one of the problems, and here's the problem I have and why I want to do this episode. So I agree with all the memes. I agree with all the videos. I think they're hilarious. The problem is these videos are like, oh, we did this and, we drank out of garden hoses because we couldn't get in the house and we were dirty and we were brave and we did stupid stuff and, independent, awesome. They're comparing that to the current generation, Generation Z. Now, this is not all Gen X people. This is not all Gen Z people. This is a generality, whatever, however you say that word. You know what I'm saying? Of what we see going on culturally. So when they make all these memes and they make all these videos, they're doing it as in like, oh, look how soft this new generation is compared to our awesome generation, Generation X. The problem is Generation Z was raised by Generation X. So it's like, okay, yeah, we are an awesome generation, and I 100% agree with that. But apparently the wheels fell off when it came to parenting because Gen Z, as we've seen it, now granted, there's a lot of contributing factors, social media, internet, video games, all that crap. But the wheels fell off somewhere with that. I don't know if it was because people in my generation didn't feel like their parents cared enough about them or they should be their friends. But see, I think Gen X brought in the whole, I'm my kid's best friend. If you're your kid's best friend, then you are not doing your job as a parent. It's not your job to be your kid's friend. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that are really good friends with their kids while they're children, while they're raising them. My personal opinion, not the best way to raise your kids, but whatever, where their kids turn out just fine. So, exception to every rule. But what we are having problems with nowadays is kids get whatever the hell they want. I was listening to a podcast. I'm not picking it up. It was that John Lovell with Sean Ryan podcast, and he was saying that you should always put your spouse first. Which he's a pretty religious dude, and I agree with him. Where it goes God, your spouse, your children, and I mean that's right. You should never elevate because I think that's how we get like not everybody, but there's a lot of kids out there with a real attitude problem and they're little shits. And it's because they've pretty much been raised to think that you can do no wrong, little Billy. You're awesome. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not awesome at everything. Like, and I do remember getting the participation awards in Little League. So it's like at the end of the season, like you have your little pizza party and everybody gets a trophy for nothing. I can honestly say I'm pretty sure all those trophies went in the trash because they mean absolutely nothing. And the biggest insult you could get, because I did started wrestling pretty young in elementary school, is you go to a tournament and you get the green ribbon, and that green ribbon immediately went into the trash. If you weren't on the pedestal, I mean, what you're shooting for is first place and walking away with that. Man, I can't remember the words for anything. The thing that shows everybody like where they're at, and I can't remember what the hell that's called. They even have it in like fantasy football or whatever. But I'll probably think of it later and it'll pop up out of my head. If you happen to know what I'm talking about, go ahead and comment before I think of it, because you never know, I may not think of it at all. Like, subscribe, share, all that shit while you're at it. Especially if you think I'm full of shit with my whole outlook on this topic, then you can tell your friends about it. They can watch it and they can either talk shit or agree with me. Either way, I'm fine. Either way that goes. Bracket. That's what I'm talking about. You get first place, so you get up on the top shelf, so you're above everybody because you're the winner. Back when we had winners and losers. And then you got your first place medal, and then you got the bracket that shows these are all the people's asses I kicked to get to this spot up here. Number 1, tournament champion. Woo! But like, but if you didn't, just so everybody didn't get their feelings hurt, you got the green little participation award that said, this is the tournament I went to in the school, and this is where I obviously didn't win because I had the green ribbon because I'm a loser. And, losing's okay. Being a loser is okay. Not like making that your persona and like, I'm a loser, but you learn from losing. You don't actually learn anything from winning, really. I mean, you learn that you're awesome and you won, But if you lose or you failed something, you learn. If you want to make something of yourself, then you learn from it and improve yourself. Make yourself a better person. Make yourself better at whatever you're doing. I think a lot of that's been taken away with Gen Z. It's like, well, I'm not good at this. I'm just going to quit, or That doesn't necessarily work for me though, because when I played baseball when I was younger, I was shit, and then I quit because I was scared of the ball. I got a fastball to the side. I cried like a little baby. It was sad and pathetic. I was like the worst kid on the team, and the sad part is my dad was the head coach. Yeah. Sad. But I quit for a while, and obviously it's probably a hand-eye coordination thing, but tried out again a few years later, and I was pretty good, like really good. Didn't play in high school just because I wrestled and played football and didn't feel like doing anything else, but so that taught me, it's like, if you're not good at something, just quit. And don't do anything to improve yourself. Just quit and try again later. And chances are you'll be better. It's worked for me in baseball and barbecue. Where when I first got into barbecue, I tried doing some competitions. Never got a call. Nothing. Just turning in garbage. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to take a break from this. I still barbecued, but I didn't do a whole lot of research and make a shit ton of ribs and briskets and all this stuff trying to perfect my thing. I just kind of, got to where I liked it, found a way to do it. I did learn that when you're doing anything, especially with barbecue or food stuff, you make small changes. What I used to do is like, this didn't work, so I'd try something completely different. But got out of competition for a while, came back about, 4 or 5 years later, and I've gotten a call at every competition I've been at. And now a call is not like, that could be like 10th place or above. But if you're getting 10th place in a food competition out of 35, 40 people, I don't care what you think about it. I go up there like I just won the Olympics. It's like, yeah, 7th place, motherfuckers. I'm that guy. Over celebrating for a mediocre placement. But I've gotten a call at every competition I've been in since. So, but I don't know. There's just something with, people are socially awkward nowadays, and I think it's because I think some parents nowadays, and I don't have kids, so whatever. I have somewhat younger brothers and nieces, nephews, and stuff like that. But if you think that nobody can say anything about how people are raising their kids because they don't have any, you can go F yourself, because everybody is invested in the next generation. Why? Because the next generation are the people that are going to be running the country. And right now, it's a little scary to think of the people coming up now running anything because they can't deal with anything. And that's because they've been let loose on internet, social media. What in the hell does any kid? I would say that if you're not driving, you don't need a cell phone. That's just me. I mean, I didn't have a cell phone. Of course, they had just came out when I was a sophomore, I think. But I had a cell phone, so when I'm driving around or whatever, something happens, I can get a hold of my parents. You see people now that have like kids, like toddlers that have laptops and or iPads and phones and all this shit, and they're just like the parents just put it in front of them, and they'll either watch their show on YouTube or play their game or whatever, and that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They're not interacting with other people. They're not going out doing anything. So you have this decent amount of people in Generation Z that are just socially and emotionally handicapped because they're not spending any time with other people. In order to grow your social skills, you have to spend time with human beings, not typing stuff on the thing or trying to get as many likes as you can and all this crap. So I think a big part of it is people checked out. And because people are putting their kids first, like they're putting them on this pedestal, you know, you hear these things like, and I think that might have been another Gen X thing too, or maybe just in general. I remember during teacher parent conference, that always scared the shit out of me because I was kind of a class clown, and generally that did not go overly well for me. And then I would, get a talking to for what was told to my parents by the teacher. And then nowadays, if the kid's not doing good in school, it's not the kid's fault; it's the teacher's fault. So the parents get all pissed off at the teacher. Now we have seen we've seen what a lot of teachers are teaching kids now again, but like you find this stuff out by being engaged with your kids or your nephews or, people, younger people, if they're in your life or whatever, being engaged. So if you're a parent, you need to be engaged with the kid and what they're learning. If I learned something or I thought I learned something and I came home and I'd bring it up and I'd say, ask my dad about something. And if he didn't agree with it, he would ask me, why do you think that? Explain to me, okay, you said X, why? And then sometimes I couldn't explain it. And turns out I'm just repeating bullshit I heard at school. And I don't actually believe it because I don't know what's behind it, which I think is a lot of what's going on, all this anti-Semitism and all this shit. These dumbasses don't know what the hell they're saying. They're told by some racist ass far left, jerk off who is all mad because these intellectuals don't really mean shit in America. America's all about doers, like building yourself up, improving yourself, making it on your own. Nobody gives a shit about somebody who just sits around and thinks about bullshit all day because you know why? You're not producing anything. It's like, oh, I have a liberal arts degree, so I'm educated in being educated, or I'm a philosophy teacher, which, not saying there's anything wrong with philosophy, but that's not pushing humanity forward. You could say if it wasn't all jacked up and stupid and overtaken by the far left, philosophy helps move the culture forward, stuff like that. But right now, the culture is sick, it's ill, and it just here's the thing. If you want to know what's going on with your kids, maybe we bring back eating supper at the table. How many Gen Xers out there ate supper at the kitchen table every night? I did. Every night, came home, we had dinner at the table, and we discussed our day. Nobody does that, seems like, anymore. And that's where you learn. Like, what'd you learn in school today? What happened? And if you start that young, and you don't have to raise your kid to be a crazy conspiracy theorist or don't trust anybody, but it's just like, there's nothing wrong with questioning authority and questioning science because that is science. Science is literally questioning science, literally questioning whatever. That's why the whole it's settled science. It's all settled. There's nothing to say about it because the science has been settled. There's no such thing as settled science at all. I mean, look at the period that was recently discovered in Indonesia, which is supposedly 20,000 years older than the oldest current known pyramid in Egypt. That'll turn some people up on their head. Then they get all mad. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to lose my grant or are you going to take away my doctrine? Oh no, I better say this is fake news and,
false science is false. It's false science. You should be wearing 1,500 masks, just like a solid thing of cloth about a foot thick right in front of your face that may or may not keep you safe. But yeah, just follow the science. It's like,
I mean, I don't know. It's just, if you know what's going on and you're discussing with people in anything, it doesn't even have to be your niece, nephew, kids, whatever, friends. The sad thing is, and they try to, and that's a real sad thing, but like when Camel Toe comes out and she's like, oh, the number one thing killing children nowadays is gun violence. That is a blatant bullshit lie. Like, blatant. They stacked like every gun stat that has to do with like gang violence, suicide, stuff like that. It's like, if we're engaged with people, we know something's wrong. You're not going to have someone be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe so and so killed themselves. I didn't even know. Well, maybe you didn't know because you didn't talk to him or talk to her or whatever. I just, and it's hard for me to say because I'm not, exactly the biggest fan of people. I mean, I get kind of annoyed with people really easy. But at the end of the day, I'm not a bad guy. Like if I see someone having a hard time or something like that, I'll help them out the best I can. I do not give out money to panhandlers because I think it's mostly scam artists, and handing someone money is not helping them out. Same thing with welfare, food stamps, all that shit. Not helping anybody out. And we're also raising, and I mean, government handouts have been coming up, but they've gotten kind of, I don't know if you call it mainstream or, man, I just can't remember shit, Kevin. This is all your fault. Jet streamed or whatever. Like, it's easier to get on, it's harder to get off, and then you create this cycle where it's like, well, my parents lived off the teat, so that's all I know how to do. Unless you get that person that has that independent spark in them that's like, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like basically being told how I'm going to live, and being held within these confines of what I can and can't afford based on this, what someone told me I do. I'm going to make myself better. But like that creates generational thing, and it's like, I don't know, and I don't know if like what all has happened is necessarily anybody's fault. I mean, it is new. All the challenges, and that's just going to keep happening with every generation. It's always something new, some new technology, some new social structure, or if there's outside forces, which I do, and maybe you call it conspiracy theory. Well, I do think there is outside forces that are literally jacking with their culture and messing with people to create a lot of the problems we're having nowadays. I mean, we brought it up, in the gender bender episode, but like this transgender movement that's going on, it's obviously a mass majority of it is a social contagion or like a fad. Are there people that are legitimately dealing with this and need help? Yes. But it's the same thing with panhandlers or drug addicts or, crazy people out in the streets. Letting them be crazy, letting them do drugs, letting them go down the road as a child, to explore whether or not they were born as the wrong sex, and then giving them, which is horrible, drugs, hormone drugs, which is worse. You should probably go to jail for either. Actually, I think you should go to jail for both. Is doing surgery. We're not helping anybody. You help somebody by helping them understand why they feel this way and whether or not this is a thing or a phase. I mean, everybody remembers going through puberty. Shit gets weird because your hormones are all jacked. And I mean, granted, I never thought I should have been a girl. That would have been weird, but I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like I said, it's social contagion. People like going through puberty. It's like, oh man, I feel kind of weird. My voice is acting all funny. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh wait, maybe I was one of them there deep voiced ladies. I don't know. I'm gonna go talk to my counselor. And the counselor's like, yes, you were definitely born in the wrong body, and you should definitely take pills and just go down that rabbit hole. I mean, that's a problem. And then they tell you not to talk to parents, all that stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I just think that not being engaged with people in general, like, everyone tries to act like they give a shit about the homeless or the drug addicts. They don't give a shit. They walk by them. Unless they are like directly bothering them. And you're not helping a drug addict by setting up a tent. Well, they can safely do their meth in my tent. I'm doing my good deeds. I deserve a medal. Yeah, you're not doing anybody any good. I mean, I think that I know Trump was talking about, like, if he got elected again, he'd be back institutions or asylums for people, and with the guise of getting them better, getting them to treatment, getting them back on their feet, and making themselves sufficient. Totally fine with that. The only catch-22 is, like anything else, is one of the reasons why we don't have any institutions anymore, kind of like how all the jacked up things are going on with the kids, is people weren't paying attention to those places. So there are all kinds of messed up shit going on in them. And then we have the mental illness rights, or the mentally ill have rights too. And they did them a lot of good by just letting these people go, and like, oh yeah, we'll just let you go. No supervision, no make sure you're on your medication, none of that. They just let them go. So I mean, we went bad. We skipped any good that could have been in the middle. It just went from one extreme to the other, which is what we do in this country. We see a problem and we way overcorrect on just about everything. I mean, you could argue that, because of Gen X, that race relations were pretty damn good in the United States. Like, I never had a problem. Like, I've heard people say some pretty ignorant ass stupid shit based on race, and I've had people that seem like they didn't like me because of the color of my skin. Didn't hold them against it. Whatever. I mean, you do you, I'll do me. But well, I did hold something against the people that were blatantly, like the racists they tell you about on TV. They are there. They are real people, and they are just ignorant ass pieces of shit. Could be upbringing, generational, like welfare, stuff like that. But I don't know. Things seem to be going good. That's why I think Gen X has the ability and the power to help turn things around, because we are independent. We are, critical thinkers, decision makers, doers. And it's just, I don't want to skip a generation. I want to help Generation Z. I know I skipped over millennials, but they're millennials. I don't want to skip over them. We need to help figure out what the hell's going on, and because it's not good when you have people that aren't going to be able to grasp reality. Like, there's a lot of problems with people that like will go to college, they get out, and they have to be taught how to be adults. Like the shit that you're supposed to learn in high school and stuff, not learning, sexuality and all this other stupid shit. You're supposed to be taught how to be adults. So people are like, oh, you need to, I don't know, show up to work when you're supposed to work, show up on time. If you have an office job, like what you should wear, all this, like, just being an adult. Employees are having to teach their young employees basically how to be adults. So we need to do something, because we're not raising functional people. Like, I think shortly after high school, I moved out. I don't remember, I had to go back. But people living in their parents' house, so they're like 25, 30. I mean, what the shit? At some point, got to give them the boot. I'm just saying. But I don't know. I wanted to talk about this topic because I totally agree with all the memes and all the videos, and Gen X is super awesome. But there are some shortcomings when it came to, you're literally making these memes to talk shit about Gen Z because they're soft. And I hate to break it to you, but most of Gen Z was raised by Gen X. So you could argue that the memes and videos that we're making kind of is a little bit our fault. Maybe a little inner soul searching. And, you look back and you're like, I look back at my, being raised, and I think I turned out all right. So I'm not going to look back and be like, you know what? I'm just going to do different stuff. It's like, no, you're an independent, successful person because of the parenting or lack of parenting, or however the hell some bitter Gen Xers want to put it, that made you who you are. And I know Gen Xers, oh, I made me who I am because it was just me. It was just me. Ah!
And when I have kids, I want to be my kid's best friend because that way they'll come to me with anything. Anything.
And yeah, that is I think that's an inaccurate statement personally, but that's just me. I mean, like most things I talk about, probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So, and I'm sure plenty of you out there like, you don't have any business saying anything about this. Blah blah blah. I don't give a shit because, like I said, the next generation is the one that's going to be taking care of us when we're old. So, I'll say whatever the hell I want. But that pretty much wraps that up. I don't know what I mean. I just wanted more of a venting thing than anything else. You know, reminiscing a little bit about the growing up. Growing up in the 80s and early 90s was pretty cool, though. We did have some pretty badass music and just it was good. Things were good all over. I mean, obviously everyone has their problems. Nothing will ever be perfect. Socialists. So get that out of your head. But I don't know. It just seemed like it was good. Good times. I mean, people were upward mobile. Racial relations were good. Nobody gave a shit if somebody was gay or whatever. I mean, nobody cared. I mean, to this day, I still don't care. I just don't like people pushing agendas on stuff. I'm like, you need to be tolerant. If you're not my type of tolerant, then I'm going to cancel you or try to get you fired or do whatever because I'm not tolerant at all. Like, that is the way these people are. And hopefully they're not so bad to where, like that, what is it? Yurgi Bezmenov or something like that, where you get these people that are basically brainwashed to where up until everything falls apart and they're kicked into a cage by their handlers that they help prop up. It doesn't matter what you tell them, they're just basically screwed. Hopefully, we're not there and we can help pull the wool. But that pretty well wraps that up. I think that's the right way of saying it. But yeah, the only thing locally happening this week is there has been, or Egypt's finally taken some American or co-citizens. Even though I think it's weird that they won't take any Palestinians. It would be nice to get them out. Nobody wants innocent people to die in a war. I think if you're calling for a ceasefire or an end, and you have a problem with what Israel's doing, I don't know. Then maybe that's why you don't like America, because they were unprovoked, or Israel didn't do anything. Hamas attacked them. And if you have a problem with what Israel's doing, then you better have a problem with Hamas, because everything that is happening since October 7th is on the heads of Hamas. I mean, it sucks if you're one of these weird college kids that are literally, I mean, I'm not talking about being pro Palestine. I don't even know why you pick a side like pro Palestine or pro Israel or whatever. You should be pro not having people coming to your town and murder your family and like rape your women. That should just, I figured that would be like one thing we could all agree upon. But apparently there are literally college students cheering on Hamas and calling for the death of Jews. Thought we got rid of that kind of shit back in the 40s, but I don't know. It keeps coming back around. It's kind of weird. But that happened. They basically surrounded Gaza City, so I don't know how much longer it's going to be. It's probably take a while to get in there, but seems like the more progress they get, the more people in the world try to slow them down. And I think I think at this point, just jumping topics, still overseas, but we might as well just pull out of UN. UN's a fucking joke. When you make Iran that kills their own citizens that don't agree with their regime, put them on the Human Rights Council, you're a joke, a fucking joke. Like, really, what the fuck? We should just pull all our money out of it and see how long they last, because that's garbage. But yeah, I think I wraps this up. I don't think I've done too bad as far as going solo. I will say one more thing, though, and it has to do with memes. It has to do with the stupid Halloween spirit thing, because one of the Halloween spirit costumes, where you get the little thing, it's actually like an empty package, and you can put what you want on it, and you can either put like a picture or something like that. Well, there was a Halloween spirit, costume in a package, and it said Walmart cashier or some shit, and there was nothing there because everyone's like, oh, there's so many self-checkouts, blah, 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 blah. Well, I heard a rumor that Walmart's going to start getting some or get rid of some of their self checkouts and put in regular checkouts. So if I have to start waiting in a line behind people while they're getting checked out by a cashier because you guys are either too stupid or lazy to check out your own groceries, like, oh, I should be getting paid to check out my own groceries. Well, generally there's always one open. If there's not, and you're not smart to do it, order it online and then pick it up or have it, delivered. Don't ruin self checkout for the people that want to get in, get out, and not have to wait behind someone having a conversation with a cashier about shit that they're not going to remember about 5 minutes later. You're ruining it for productive people. So what the fuck? Let's just go ahead and back off and just roll, roll. But like, I love self checkout. Always have. It's like, oh, I don't have to wait behind people looking for coupons and all this other shit. If you ever notice, if you have live cashiers, you have self checkout always goes faster. You know why? Because you're checking your shit out, you're paying, and you're leaving. So just saying. And if you have a problem with you checking your receipt, well, if you don't want your prices to go up, they do that to help stop theft. Okay, I know it's like, nope. And once I pay for it, it's my property, and they can go fuck themselves if they want to check my receipt. This is mine, and I'm a big tough guy, and I like to bitch about stupid shit that has nothing to do with anything. So I don't know. I guess it's turned into more of a rant episode. But yeah, I heard Walmart was thinking of pulling out some of their self-checkout booths, and that was very disheartening because I love self-checkout because I'm not a lazy piece of shit. Just saying. But yeah, I think this kind of wraps up my little solo episode. So I'll go ahead and part by saying I'm Josh, and this was the Lost Art of Common Sense Rant, I guess. So until next week when Kevin's back, I'll see you. Common sense, baby!